Podcast Business Hotline, Bounce Forward. Kevin, how are we today?
Hey, good morning, Bob. Good morning, Jamie. And it'd be remiss if I didn't mention a shout out to Mark. I love him. It's part of the business that we deal with, and thinking of him as I make this conversation with you guys. Always fun joining you guys in the morning.
Absolutely, Kev. He's a dear friend of ours. He's incredibly talented and hardworking, and he will land on his feet. We're all positive of that.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
Tough times.
Now the question is, who's going to land on our feet in Philadelphia when it comes to Philly sports? That's the question.
You sound unbelievably tame this morning. I'm shocked, Kev. So I know you probably have some. Now, listen, we started the show today and we said there's too many things that are going negative in the world. Too many all over the place. So today we made it a day of optimism. Now, I know you want to get some Eagles stuff off of your chest, but keep in mind that our theme today is some optimism. So I'll start you off with probably the most pessimistic part. Your feelings about Monday night's game with the Eagles and bouncing forward, your feelings as far as Green Bay on Sunday.
A handful of things. First off, I want to commend Steve Levy, Brian Greasy, and Louis Riddick.
They were great.
You know, and I talked to Lewis and Levy afterwards, and I just said I listened to every single broadcast, and obviously, you know, I listened to it differently, and I thought they handled it as best as they could as a national broadcast to be transparent and back it up with facts. And I thought that they spoke out a lot about some of the issues that we've seen throughout the season, and I would say through the last couple of years, the frustration that's building up. They didn't sugarcoat things, and they directed, you know, the attention on the major flaws on the construction of this roster and the issues that continue. But at the same time, saying, hey, you can't just say let's get rid of Carson Wentz, because that's not realistic. I mean, it's not solving one thing, because when you look at the cap and the way it's constructed, you can't get rid of Carson Wentz. It's how do we fix things around Carson Wentz? And I think it comes down to roster makeup and drafting, and there have been a lot of swing and misses, but I haven't seen a lot of contact hits in the last couple of years when it comes to drafting impact players, and it's exposing itself. And you know, my biggest fear with Carson is this, guys. I mean, 3 years ago, next week, is when he got hurt against the Rams. And he was a 24-year-old, and the world was in the palm of his hands when it comes to the MVP conversation and the Eagles having a franchise quarterback. And this team was built to do whatever they could to make sure Carson Wentz was taken care of. What has this team done to make sure Carson Wentz has been taken care of the last couple of years when we talk about impact playmakers at the wide receiver position and protecting him? And instead of getting any type of impact player in that second round, and this is not a knock on Jalen Hurts, because I think Jalen Hurts could be a good player, but it wasn't a need in the second round. And you could have gotten an impact player at that pick where we could have seen that guy on Monday night make a difference in a game like this. And they have not done anything in the last couple of years to help the psyche of Carson Wentz, which I just don't understand, guys. Like, I don't understand the investments that they've made in building a team around him. While you pay him, you still have to make sure you're taking care of him with other moves and decisions. And we're seeing that. We're seeing a flawed roster, and we're not seeing the ability of this coaching staff to help him. We're not seeing the ability of management, Howie Roseman, in making sure he's going to be protected. And it's a big failing top to bottom with the organization.
Absolutely. Kevin, you kind of hit on something during that we did more or less yesterday as the theme of the show. A short-term fix for the Eagles, meaning for the remainder of this season, heading into Lambeau on Sunday. What is the short-term fix you would make? And then the long-term fix at season end. If they end up with 4 or 5 wins on the year, some heads are going to roll. So what's the short-term fix you would make for the remainder of this year, and what's the long-term fix?
I would do everything I can to protect the quarterback, because my biggest fear with the quarterback right now is I go back to David Carr, not Derek Carr, David Carr.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he was supremely talented and a number one pick, and the Texans could not protect him. I mean, he was sacked 76 times, and then the following year, I think it was 68 times. Carson's on pace to be sacked 67 times this season, and you could see it's taking a toll on him. I mean, for a Seahawks defense that wasn't good against the pass, they just said, let's just load up Jamal Adams in the box, and we saw a lot of missed blocks, and he got crushed 6 times. And I'm not making excuses for Carson Wentz, because when you notice, obviously, on the bad, they had a penalty on the first time, and they looked sloppy, but the second snap with Jalen Hurts, it was the first official one, was he got the ball out within 2 seconds. I mean, immediately, whether it was a good pass or not, he got the ball. And Carson needs to get the ball out. There's got to be a timer in his head, whether it's a good pass or hands quickly. We're not seeing that. We're not seeing the slants. And there's an issue. We saw Goddard not run on the right route on the pick. We saw Jalen Reagor not running the right route. Like, they're not on the same page. In Week 12, they're not on the same page with everybody across the board. So, as a result, you got to get rid of the football within 2 seconds against this Packers defense. And that you just build off of that, and you find a way to build off of that. Miles Sanders, I love the kid. I think he needs more touches. He's got to help his quarterback and catch the football out of the backfield.
Agree.
I mean, if he can do that, then you have the ability that you have a safety valve. Because clearly Dallas Goedert is a safety valve for Carson that he trusts. He's got to build that trust. Miles has to with Carson out of the backfield. So that's what I'm hoping for against the Packers. Long term, I'm at this point where they cannot continue to say, hey, we won the Super Bowl. Doug, thank you. Howie, thank you. You won the Super Bowl. And I think the city will forever be grateful for that. But when you look at the track record outside of 2017 and the results, okay, you won a division last year, but there were a lot of issues with injuries, and the roster was terrible when it comes to draft picks in 2019 and 2020. And you can go back to 2017's issues in the draft. That is a major, major development problem. And in the NFL, when you're paying your quarterback over $30 million, you have to reassess it. Who is making these picks? And it falls on one guy. It falls on Howie. And who is designing these plays and making the play calling? It falls on one guy. It falls on Doug. And when you're taking a step back with your franchise quarterback, you're not helping him, surrounding him with players that protect him and giving him playmakers, and your play calling is abysmal at best. It falls on these two guys. And my biggest fear, I said this, guys, the night of Monday, what can we hang our hat on? Where is the hope with the team? I don't have any hope with this team because hypothetically, if they get a top 5, top 10 pick, do we feel confident with currently what we have right now on evaluating talent that we will nail the pick? I don't, because we haven't nailed any picks the last 2 years. I mean, you can make a case for Miles Sanders, but they don't use Miles Sanders well. I mean, for a guy to have only 8 touches, that's ridiculous in Seattle. So I come back to those two guys. Like, we have to reassess, and it's fool's gold to say, hey, they're still in the playoff hunt and they can make it, to the playoffs. What does that mean? A home game that you get embarrassed with? It's fool's gold, guys. It's fool's gold.
All right,
and then you move from potentially 6 to maybe 20 in the draft. You're not gonna get that impact player from 6 at 20.
All right, so Mr. Negandhi, and I call you that because now I have elevated you as owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, okay?
Yeah.
So I ask you, you just said, thank you, Mr. Roseman. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Super Bowl, that was great. Are you shaking their hands and opening the door and letting them out?
Yeah, I mean, the evidence is in front of us. I'm providing facts. Like, at a certain point, he's been very patient. If you look at, he does everything methodically. He doesn't do anything to win. And what we did in 2017 and 2018, year of with the Super Bowl, you've got to find a way to how do we get better, because you're losing the prime years of Carson Wentz if you don't get better immediately. And they're not getting better right now with what they're doing. We're not seeing any growth. Have we seen any growth the last 2 years with anybody on the offensive side? And I'm playing this back to you guys. I'm playing this back to the entire city. In year 1 or 2, the one guy we've seen growth? Jordan Mailata. And what has happened? it's been a revolving door. Hey, we're not going to play him. We're going to play him. We're not sure if we're going to play him. Travis Fulgham. Oh, you know what? We'll lose minutes from him and snaps and put in Alshon. I love Alshon. 2017 during a 4-week stretch, guys, led the NFL in receiving, and suddenly his playing time's cut. Like, they have to give these young guys a chance, and I'm saying thank you with no emotion. You will be celebrated when we look back in 5 years, 10 years, and we have the anniversary. But this is a business. We've got to protect the 27-year-old quarterback that we have right now, because we're not doing a good job the last 2 years and making sure he's okay.
All right, we're going to put you in a happier place now that you've dropped your daughter off at school and you got your frustrations out about the Eagles. About under Doc Rivers here, we know 3: Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Tobias Harris. Who would you like to see in with them in the starting lineup, Kev?
Oh man, lineup that says this has to happen. I kind of want to. I want to be open-minded to everything.
Yeah.
When we have a set starting lineup, I don't think it's fair to a new head coach, because I think Doc Rivers has to play everybody to figure out what they can do, right, in his system. So when you go with a specific, well, this guy needs to start, this guy. Listen, the only guys that I think need to start no matter what are the guys that we're paying the most, and of course, and that is Ben, that is Joel, and that is Tobias. And to me, it's like, Doc, all right, you try to put some rotations in and figure it out in this small window that we have before the season starts. You got to find out how they all fit together. You know, Darryl gets you the pieces, and now it's you getting a rotation here to find out. I'd like to see Furkan a little bit. I don't understand what was going on, where we see him in the regular season play a huge role, and then he's buried on the bench during the playoffs.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. When you need spacing, I want to see more of him. I want to see, no doubt, Seth Curry on the floor. But I'm more curious about Tobias Harris, because he blossomed in that first half of the season with the Clippers under Doc, right?
Yeah.
How does Doc find a way to maximize his talents with these other two foundation parts?
All right, Kev, the last thing that we have for you today, we've been going back and forth with this, all right? Jamie is a freak where he will not allow anyone besides himself to use his fingernail clippers. There's no sharing. There's nothing. It's basically just him and his wife. His daughter's too young to be clipping nails as of yet. Kids, you have a bunch of kids. Where are you on the fingernail clipper issue?
Jamie, what's going on, man?
It's disgusting. You're digging in nails. It's all dirty under there. It's just, you're cutting cuticle. It's just.
Do you share it with your wife?
No. I tell her to go to CVS and get a new pair.
And then she allows you to sleep in the same bedroom?
Yeah, Kevin, you're on my side. When you have a bunch of kids, you just find them and use them. That's all there is to it, right?
Find them and use them. But, Jamie, I will tell you this, that my wife is very much like that. She's a germaphobe in the sense that, hey, this is mine, don't use it. And I've just figured out, I don't care. I'm just glad to find something I could use in the house with 3 kids running around. And if it's applicable, I'll apply it to myself. But then I also know that, my wife's got her side, and I'm just like, hey, your wife, and then I just move on.
Yeah, so Bob's trying to paint this portrait, Kevin, that he's, normal.
Yeah, very normal.
Listen to this. So the 2 guys I work with, Bob and Pat, admitted this morning that they both enjoy watching pimple popping videos, and when Bob can't sleep at times, he'll dive into the YouTube of pimple popping. Your thoughts?
Bob, that's disgusting. You did a really good job deflecting here, and now let's focus on Bob's issues.
Yeah, not good.
Bob, that is nasty. Like, I wish I had the time to sit there and say, let's look at some videos, and the idea that we're looking at pimple popping, Bob, what are we doing? We've got to take a time out here to assess some things.
So there's just times, Kev, where I'm trying to fall asleep and it doesn't happen, and watching some good blackheads being extracted, it helps me.
Bob, just quit while you're behind, man. You're losing any type of credibility here watching. No, come on. That's disgusting, man.
Yeah, I might have to reassess.
Jamie, well done by you.
Thank you.
Yeah, whatever. Kevin, once again, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We will be hitting you up often. Hopefully, it's a happy Kevin next time we grab you. It'll be after an Eagles win, but of course, really good Sixers season, I believe, coming up. So we'll be talking to you about that in the future.
We've got hoops coming our way, guys. Let's
Can't wait.
enjoy it as much as we can.
All right,
you guys.
thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.